part one, we talked about sanding the chair and kind of preparing it for the stain we were going to put on. In the second one, we gave you what we think are a lot of good ideas on putting stain on, and you should feel pretty good about the chair that you've got. The third part of this now is finishing, actually putting a protective and beautifying top coat on. This is where you may start getting a little nervous, but I've got a lot of great ideas for you, and we'll make this process easy so that your confidence level just soars. The first thing is to choose a finish that's going to go on here. Now, I've assembled 4 of the more popular ones, and I think what I'd like to do is take you through each one to show you what they're like. The first is shellac. It's an old-time finish, very popular, goes on easily. You can actually control its color by adding some colorants to it. It has a okay resistance to wear and moisture. The second finish is lacquer, a little bit more protective than shellac. Beautiful finish, extremely clear, dries very fast. The third finishes, kind of taken as a group here, are polyurethanes. Extremely protective, very, very good finishes. The first is water-based. Water-based finish dries quickly. It has no real fumes, so that those exposed to the fumes in there won't really be bothered by them. And I think you'll find that the finish that goes on is extremely clear. It does not highlight the grain at all, so I kind of like using it on maples, but it's a beautiful finish. And our fourth finish is oil-based polyurethane, and the one that I've chosen for this chair. A very soft, kind of a warm golden glow to it will accentuate the colors in this chair, and the protective ability is far beyond any of the ones that you see here. So these are the 4 finishes. We're going to use oil-based poly on this one. Now, concerning the application of these products, these can be brushed on. They can also be sprayed on through the cans like this. You can also spray them if you're lucky enough to have an HVLP sprayer out of an HVLP sprayer gun, or they can be wiped on. We've chosen to brush our finishes on, and I want to show you the brush selections that you now can make. Now, here's a selection that I want to kind of talk about when you're applying a finish. If you remember just a minute ago, I talked to you about wipe-on poly. I like to use a little rag like this, a clean, lint-free rag to wipe on poly. You can also wipe on some of the regular poly, but it's a little bit tougher, it's a little bit thicker in this can than wipe on. But when I'm applying regular polyurethane, you have 4 choices. The first is a foam brush. A lot of people like foam brushes. They're relatively inexpensive. I like them in that they hold a lot of material, but at the same time they have a tendency to leave a lot of material on the surface of the finish. So for that reason, I really don't use these terribly often. And foam brushes also have a tendency to create little bubbles in the finish, which from polyurethane is a tough thing. Second type of brush, and you'll find a lot of these at the store, and a lot of people like them because they're so inexpensive. This is called a chip brush. Chip brush is for removing chips from lathes and equipment like that, really not meant to put on a finish. So I would suggest that even though they're inexpensive, skip it. The third type of brush is a nylon bristle brush. It is used for putting on water-based finishes. We use nylon with water-based finishes because water has a tendency to swell the fibers of these brushes. With a nylon bristle brush, that won't happen. But in the case of our oil-based polyurethane, my favorite brush, and the one that I use all the time, is a natural bristle. This holds an awful lot of material. It has an inordinate number of bristles on the end, each with splayed ends that have a tendency to really lay out a beautiful finish and do it evenly. So this is my choice for putting on a polyurethane finish. Okay, let's start the process of applying the polyurethane. First, we'll open up the can. And what I want to do is I'm going to punch a couple of holes in this can. I'm going to punch them on the inside edge of this ring. And just do it with an awl. That way, as you stir this and as you use the finish, that finish that runs over the outside edges can drip back in the can again. If it doesn't drip back in the can, or if you don't have those holes, there's no way to put a seal on there and guarantee a real nice tight fit. So that's what we've done first. And the second thing is, we're going to stir this, and here's why. At the bottom of this can sits a good amount of material that needs to be stirred in well. You'll see it on here. The more flattened the finish is, if this is a semi-gloss or a satin gloss, you'll have even more of these agents at the bottom. So it's important now to stir these and make sure that they're well distributed. And while you're putting on this finish, especially if it takes a couple of hours to apply this finish, go back occasionally and re-stir. Again, with the object in that you want to make sure that all of the elements of this finish are in suspension and not sitting on the bottom. Now it's time to apply the finish to this chair, and much like we did with the stain, we'd like to try it in an inconspicuous place just to make sure that that's the finish that we're looking for. So again, we're going to turn this chair over, use the bottom section to apply the finish, and whenever you start putting a finish on, in particular polyurethane, I'll take the brush. Polyurethane is mineral spirits based, so I put a quantity of mineral spirits in this container, and I'm going to dip the brush in this real fast, kind of shake off the excess, because what I'm interested in is kind of getting this brush not only ready to put a finish on, but also to have some thinner down into the collar around the outside, which will make it a whole lot easier to clean. You remember I told you to spend $15 or $20 on a brush. This is a great way to make that easier to clean when you're done. Let's dip the brush in the finish, only come up about 1/3 the way on the sides, tap the edges, don't roll up against the edges, and we're going to make our first layer of finish on the bottom edge of this chair. So I'm just adding a nice even coat of finish here first, and then I'm going to show you a little technique that's called tipping off, and that will take the somewhat irregular paint strokes that you see now and begin the self-leveling process that works so well with polyurethane. Now, with no additional finish in the brush, I'm going to just take this brush and holding it almost vertically. It's a process called tipping off. All I want to do is drag that brush very gently over the surface of that finish. And again, this tipping off process will take areas of finish that were a little bit too thick or a little bit too thin and level them so that the natural self-leveling can take over. Don't overwork this, just that real quick stroke, and that's called tipping off. Now, as I start putting finish on the top surface of this chair, I want to talk to you about the second problem that comes in with applying polyurethane. The first, the brush strokes, we took care of that with tipping off, and I showed you that technique. The second problem is the occurrence of bubbles, and there's a few different ways to eliminate or greatly reduce those bubbles. The first is make sure that you stir the can of finish, don't shake it. Don't add any more bubbles than were already there. The second is don't run the brush over the edge of that can an awful lot, because that causes a lot of bubbles to be formed. The third is slow down the application speed with your brush. The slower you go, the better. Faster application speeds generates turbulence, and that equates to bubbles. And the fourth is, when the weather gets really cool, the viscosity of that substance gets a little bit thick. You may want to thin it with some mineral spirits. That will help it flow easier and greatly reduce the possibility of bubbles. That original coat that we put down there and allow to dry gives you a couple of different indications. The first is whether or not you like the looks of that finish, and the second, and probably more importantly, is how well that finish dried. What I would suggest is that when you start a project like this, and maybe you've spent a couple of $100s on material, don't decide to kind of cheap out on the finish. If this can is more than a couple of years old, or if it's 3/4 away empty, I would suggest that you start with a fresh can. A fresh can of finish has a tendency to flow better and dry quicker and harder. Don't give up the ability of a finish to work well because you've tried to save a little bit of money on an old can of finish. Now we've arrived at the time where you've put your first coat on and it's time to put succeeding coats of finish on. A couple of different things here to keep in mind. The first is, please make sure that this finish has had plenty of time to dry. Again, I will probably give at least 24 hours between coats of finish just to make sure that there's no problems in drying. Remember, temperature and humidity have a lot to do with drying times. Make it 24 hours and eliminate that potential. When we do this work, we're going to use closed coat sandpaper. And if you remember, the grits on the closed coat are a little bit closer together. It's a finer paper, in this case 400 grit. And I'm going to real lightly sand with the grain, and you should see a very fine white haze forming. And that's a good thing. It means the surface of this polyurethane is hardened sufficiently to allow me to real lightly sand off any of these little imperfections that you may have missed during any of the previous coats. So again, very gently with the grain all over the entire surface. Now that we've done that, we have an extremely smooth, very soft surface that I have to remove the dust on. To remove the fine white dust left after sanding, some people like to use a tack rag, and I would prefer that you didn't do that. The components of this tack rag will sometimes leave a residue on the finish which will make it hard to put a second coat of poly on it. I would prefer that you use mineral spirits. I'm going to take a rag moistened with a little bit of mineral spirits. And I'm going to go over the top of this chair and remove all that dust. Now that the chair is completely dry, and it is now dust-free, it's time to put on that next coat of poly. And make sure that you add this coat of poly the same as you did the previous ones. Again, very gentle, long strokes, and at the end of those, your tip off to remove any potential brush marks or strokes. So here's your finished chair. You should be pretty proud of yourself right now. You've gained an awful lot of skill and a lot of confidence that should allow you to tackle almost any project. Remember too that this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. This project should take you as long to put a finish on as it did to construct it. And if you spend the time doing your prep work, then your staining work, and your finishing work, and the steps that we gave you, you'll be thrilled with the accomplishment. I think this turned out pretty well, and I think it would look great in your home. Now get busy finishing something.